Welcome back, everyone, to Mixed Media Dude. Today we're going to do a process of abstraction with color. This is the final result. I finished this this morning, and I'm going to take you on a process of how I made this from start to finish. So today I'm going to just start with making some shapes, and I'm going to bring water into the mix along with some watercolor. And we're going to mix some media, but first we'll start with just the watercolor to begin with. And with my abstractions, I start off very simply, just mixing a few colors. I'm just going to mix some oranges and a little bit of brown that's kind of combined. And I'm just going to let these colors kind of bleed, kind of hopefully intersect, and we'll see what we come up with as we go forward. If you like this video today, please subscribe. It definitely helps me continue making more, and please leave some comments, like the video. And I always try to get back to the comments and answer any questions you guys may have. Once again, I really appreciate your viewership, and I always look forward to what you will say on your comments. I think one of the biggest questions I get from my students is that, what do you want to paint? What's the subject that you should be doing? Or subjects. And I had a professor in college that always said, paint what you know. Make work that is authentic to you, and you can't really fail with that. So that's always kind of been my mantra, to try to come up with some of the ideas that have always been in my memory banks and some of the things I've learned along the way. Right now I'm letting some of the acrylic ink I've brought into the mix with my Chinese brush. I'm letting that kind of bleed into the watercolor, the wet watercolor. So watercolor and acrylic ink really go well together. It's one of my most favorite mixes. And here I'm just going to let that kind of bleed, kind of spray into it with the water bottle. I think some of the things that I've always enjoyed, experimenting with through my abstractions is nature. I've always loved nature, along with gardens, travel, old buildings, rustic decay. All those kind of things kind of go through my mind as I do intuitive artwork like this. I'm not looking at any object or reference. I'm just kind of going through my imagination to make this, and just watching the water interact with the colors. I started this, of course, with warm colors using the browns, yellows, and oranges, and then I slowly brought this green in to kind of bleed in and let it kind of soak into the paper. And now I'm going to bring in some sort of structure. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I've seen a lot of older buildings and architecture on my travels. Perhaps I'm thinking about Central America here, or maybe parts of the buildings in Europe. And I'm just kind of letting that kind of flow, the shapes anyway. I'm not going to get too detailed, just bringing in shapes and color. I've also done a lot of road trips across Western America. Lots of older buildings decaying in small towns. I've always enjoyed going to small towns no matter where I'm at in the world. I started that as a very young man, and a lot of that stayed with me. I live in a small town here, and I've always gone into bigger cities to see the sights. But in terms of painting, I definitely like the nature and the rural aspect of life. I've known a lot of artists, of course, growing up, and I think a lot of people I've known, even my students, I think when they're younger, they're really fascinated with realism and like photographic realism. And I think it's kind of a way to compete in some ways. But the older I've gotten, the more I enjoy abstraction, working with abstraction, and working with the elements and principles of design. I've talked about that in several of my videos. But that's what's on my mind as I create works like this. Almost like I'm trying to always find a visual poetry if I can. I'm not sure I get to that point, but that's what I'm really seeking, where it's kind of non-describable. You'll see certain things in the work, but it's not exact. For me, it's almost like a fuzzy memory of something that you can't quite put your finger on. Anyway, I'm going to get a little closer here just so you can see what I've done so far. You can see some of the bleeds and blooms that have resulted in mixing the water with the acrylic ink and watercolor paper and watercolor. And down at the bottom, you can see some of the edges as well. I also want to show you, here's some of my acrylic inks here at the table I'm working with. And also here's my palette with the watercolors I'm working from. So those two are what make up the painting today. We'll switch back over here. I'm starting to bring in some more objects now, maybe some kind of pots. Perhaps I've seen so many, especially in older places with older cultures. And you've also can see some trees I've kind of interspersed among the buildings. And once again, I'm not concerned with perspective or anything like that. I'm trying to get a feeling rather than a reading. Okay, here's just a quick aerial shot what I have so far from where we started. And you can see I started with the shapes, but I've also brought in the buildings along with tree shapes. There's some palms there, the pottery, and just an overall mixture of memories that are special to me. And here I'm going to bring in some chalk pastel for the first time. And I'm going here at the top. I'm going to kind of work with that pretty roughly, but I'm going to blend it with my fingers. And I want to get some kind of dreamy, dreamlike top to this piece. I found chalk pastel to work very well with acrylic ink and watercolor. It really softens edges. It can really create that push-pull effect where if you don't have it over top of it, it's really sharp and defined, but the chalk pastel kind of blends and softens those certain edges. And here, as I get closer to the finish, I'm going to bring in some prismacolor pencil drawing. And this also just creates a level of interest, a different mark to the page. Okay, and here we have the final piece as of now. I may add just a little more to it, I'm not sure. But I wanted to show you an overall aerial view of the piece. We'll zoom in here a little bit one more time and take a look at some of the details. And I'll pull away here. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this today, and I'll see you next time.